I know it sounds paranoid. I know it's instinct, muscle memory. Someone knocks, you check. It used to be normal for me, a routine reaction honed by years of isolation. But that simple habit became a curse when I learned it wasn't just a harmless reflex. I've always despised unexpected contact. A random call from an unknown number. I ignore it. A coworker's surprise message. I let it slide. Yet nothing unsettled me more than an unannounced knock at my door, one that sent a chill racing through my veins and made me question every creak in the night. It all began back in my university days when I lived in a cramped, dilapidated apartment filled with nothing but my bad habits and an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Late at night, as I smoked in the half-light of a poorly lit room, a sudden knock would shatter the silence. I'd tiptoe to the door, heart pounding, and peer through the peephole. More often than not, I'd see nothing but an empty corridor. I convinced myself it was just the building settling, a trick of the dim light. That pattern stuck with me, and even 15 years later, after moving through a dozen different apartments, I still follow the same ritual. When someone knocks, I approach cautiously, check through the peephole, and if the visitor doesn't seem urgent, I simply don't answer. It was my way of avoiding unwanted encounters, a self-imposed barrier against the unpredictable. I believed it kept me safe, until 2 weeks ago. It was a Friday night after an exhausting week at work. For once, I allowed myself to relax. I smoked a little, played video games with friends online, and for a brief moment, the night belonged solely to me. Headphones on, immersed in my own world, I lost track of time, until a faint sound brushed the edges of my consciousness. At first, it was barely perceptible, a soft, rhythmic tapping that almost whispered my name. I pulled my headphones off, my heart skipping a beat, and listened intently. Initially, I assumed it was just my upstairs neighbors, the kids staying up late, perhaps. I shrugged it off and returned to my game. But as the hours wore on, that knock persisted. It was measured and deliberate, like someone patiently waiting in the dark, its cadence almost hypnotic. By 2 a.m., anxiety overwhelmed me. I logged off and crawled into bed, mind swirling with thoughts I couldn't shake. Then, as if on cue, I heard it again. A slow, deliberate knock at my front door. My stomach churned and my mind raced with questions. Was it an intruder? An emergency? Yet something about the knock was unnervingly calm. It wasn't frantic or desperate. It was patient, almost ritualistic. With trembling hands, I slid out of bed, careful not to disturb the silence. Clutching my phone for its feeble beam of light, I crept through the darkened hallway. Before reaching the door, I switched off the flashlight. I couldn't risk alerting whoever was out there. I pressed my eye to the peephole, and in that split second, an icy wave of dread crashed over me. There, in the dead-end hallway, stood a solitary figure with its back turned. The corridor beyond was nothing more than a barren wall, a void of emptiness. Yet that lone figure, tall, broad, draped entirely in black, exuded an aura of quiet menace. I could almost hear its slow, deliberate breathing echoing in the silence. My skin crawled, my throat went dry. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to do something, anything. But I was frozen, rooted in terror, staring through the peephole as the figure began to twitch. Not a step, not a shift of posture, but a sudden, violent shudder, as if something inside was breaking down. It jerked backward repeatedly, not in a natural retreat, but in a strange mechanical manner that defied explanation. I couldn't tear my gaze away. The hallway remained empty thereafter, and that night, sleep was a distant memory. Every creak of the floor and every flutter of a shadow sent jolts of terror through me. Yet the knocking persisted, night after night, always at precisely 2:30 a.m. I became captive to this ritual, compelled to check the peephole each time, my stomach twisting with dread every time I glimpsed that elusive figure, always in the same spot, always facing the cold, unyielding wall. I know some might wonder why I didn't call the police or leave the apartment. The truth is, I had nowhere else to go. What would I even tell them? A man knocks on my door at 2:30 a.m., and when I look, he vanishes into thin air. It sounded absurd, too surreal to be believed. I told myself it was some cruel prank, a twisted joke gone too far. But deep down, I knew something was terribly, inexplicably wrong. Then, last night, it escalated. The knocking began in the usual slow, rhythmic pattern. I lay in bed, eyes half closed, preparing to check the peephole as I always did. But this time, when I looked, nothing was there. The hallway was completely empty, no figure, no ominous presence. I almost dismissed it when suddenly I heard another knock. This time it came from behind me, at my bedroom door. My blood turned to ice. I froze, unable to move as the knock repeated, slow and deliberate, echoing through the room. I turned my head with mounting panic. The bedroom door was closed, and beyond it lay only darkness. Then, with sudden force, I heard the unmistakable sound of the doorknob turning. I staggered backward, heart pounding, as a heavy crash rattled the wood. In that terrifying moment, time seemed to stand still, until, finally, silence fell again. I remained motionless until the first light of dawn crept through the blinds. Only then did I dare to step into my bedroom. The room was empty, void of any sign of intrusion, except for the memory of that dreadful knock and the lingering terror etched into every fiber of my being. Tonight, I know it will come again, but I won't look. I refuse to witness that horror, because I am convinced that if I do, it will be staring right back at me, and I cannot bear that gaze. Every night now, I sit by the window, watching the flickering street lamp and counting the seconds until 2:30 a.m. Sometimes, in the corner of my eye, I catch a fleeting shadow or a whisper of movement that sets my heart racing. Sometimes, when I awaken in a cold sweat, I swear I feel a ghostly touch on my arm, a silent reminder of its presence. I've taken every precaution I can think of. I lock every door and window. I've installed cameras, and I even bought a baseball bat and a sturdy knife, keeping them close by my bed. Yet the terror endures. I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched, that the mysterious figure is not a mere trick of light or a figment of my overactive imagination. He's real, and every night he seems to creep closer. I still don't know what he is or what he wants. Perhaps he's a ghost, a remnant of some long-forgotten tragedy, or something even more sinister. A harbinger of doom, a curse that has followed me from apartment to apartment over the years. All I know is that I'm trapped in a cycle of dread. I can't sleep. I can't escape the relentless, spectral knocking, a sound that haunts me every night, echoing in the silence. Deep in my mind, I fear what will happen when he finally crosses that threshold and steps into my life permanently. Because if he does, I'm not sure I'll survive the encounter. The true terror isn't just in the knocking, it's in the oppressive silence that follows, in the anticipation of what comes next. I sit here night after night, heart pounding, eyes wide in the darkness, waiting for that inevitable moment. I know he isn't done with me. I know he's lurking just beyond the veil, watching, waiting for the next knock. And when he returns, when he finally makes his move, I fear it will be the last knock I ever hear. Until then, I remain a prisoner of my own terror, caught in a relentless vigil, haunted by a presence that I can neither escape nor confront. The fear is constant, the uncertainty unyielding. And every night, as the clock ticks closer to 2:30 a.m., I can only wonder, will tonight be the night he finally comes for me?